In 2013, the Pokémon series took its biggest leap forward since the days of Red and Blue. It was a new generation, a new region, and an evolutionary breakthrough that would change the meta forever. This was Pokémon X and Y. Pokémon X and Y weren't just the start of Generation 6, they were the beginning of a new era for the franchise. Gone was the gridlock of sprites. In their place, fully 3D modelled Pokémon, cinematic battles, and a Kalos region built with depth and perspective. For fans, me included, it was a visual revolution. Pokémon finally looked alive. Attacks had impacts, cities had scale, the upgrade was massive. But this leap came with growing pains. The 3D world was beautiful, but inconsistent. Frame drops occurred a lot, especially in double or horde battles. Animations, while charming, often lacked weight, with many moves simply copying a basic hop and flash. And the new perspective sometimes made navigation clunky, especially in Lumiose City, which felt ambitious but unwieldy and confusing to navigate. A global release signified a step for Pokémon. This was indeed a new era, hopefully a better era. The games introduced gimmicks, and this game was Mega Evolution. It was the headline feature and it delivered drama. A glowing transformation, stat boosts, new abilities, even type changes. It wasn't just power, it was new strategies, a spectacle and story rolled into one. For older Pokemon like Gardevoir, Mawile and Pinsir, Mega Evolution offered redemption. It brought them back into relevance in the spotlight, with exciting new roles. It was also a smart lore device, deepening the relationship between Pokemon and trainer, whilst also giving them a fresh new look. But Mega Evolution also split the fanbase. Some loved it, others saw it as favouritism. Only a fraction of Pokemon received Mega Forms, mostly Gen 1 icons and a few oddballs. Many familiar favourites were left behind. In competitive play, balance issues emerged quickly. Mega Kangaskhan and Mega Salamence dominated, while lesser used Megas were rarely viable. The 1 Mega per battle rule helped somewhat in terms of balance, but didn't stop over-centralisation on the favourites. These issues can be seen with Pokemon like Mega Beedrill. Because of the fact Mega Evolutions just got 100 base stat increases, there was discrepancies. When pseudo-legendaries with 600 stats went up to 700, Pokemon like Beedrill, who had 480 stats, were completely left behind. Narratively, however, the idea of unlocking power through emotional bonds was meaningful, but unexplored. Lysander's obsession with ultimate beauty and the Mega Ring concept hinted at depth, but they weren't fully developed, including his Mega Gyarados. Still, Mega Evolution was unforgettable. It added identity to Kalos and gave battle dynamics energies that fans continue to miss. Every Pokemon journey begins with a choice, and in Kalos, that choice felt more meaningful than ever. There was a wealth of options. Froakie, Fennekin and Chespin. They weren't just different in type, they reflected distinct archetypes. The Ninja, the Mage, and the Knight. It was storytelling through design. Greninja was easily the breakout start. Thanks to its sleek design, versatile moveset, and the Protean ability, which was broken, it was fast, flexible, and beloved. So beloved, in fact, it made it into Super Smash Bros. And had its own special form in the anime. Fennekin's final form, Delphox, was less well received. While the Fire Psychic type was fresh, instead of firefighting, many felt its design was awkward, caught between elegance and goofiness. Its base stats leaned towards special attack, but its move pool didn't quite support it. And in the anime, it lacked the spotlight Greninja enjoyed. Chespin's Line 2 struggled with public perception. While Chestnut had decent bulk and introduced Spiky Shield, its design shift from cute to bulky divided fans. It didn't help that grass starters were already facing a reputation as the hard mode option. Balance-wise, the trio worked well, and conceptually, they were clever, but Game Freak's clear favouritism towards Greninja created a lopsided legacy. one breakout star, and 2 Pokémon playing catch-up and forgotten. The narrative in X and Y dares to ask hard questions. What makes a world worth saving, and who decides what's beautiful? But the execution was difficult, and shoddy clearly. Lysander, the villainous leader of Team Flare, is among the series' most morally complex antagonists. He wants to eliminate suffering, but through mass destruction. His utopia is drenched in the blood of his victims. The game also introduces AZ, a cursed king who used an ancient weapon to resurrect his beloved Floette, at the cost of thousands of lives. His story is haunting, tragic, and surprisingly poignant for a Pokémon game, but again, he's underused. Unfortunately, as a consistent theme, the ideas in the X and Y are big, but the execution is uneven, unlike games like Pokémon Black and White. Team Flare lacks presence for most of the game. Their early appearances are brief and cartoonish, making their sudden turn towards genocide feel very jarring. Lysander's motivations, while intriguing, are often told rather than shown. The pacing also stumbles. The climax hits hard, but it's over quickly. AZ's Floette cutscene is powerful, yet there's no real epilogue or payoff. Where the game does shine is in its ensemble cast. Instead of one rival, you have 4 companions, each with their own dreams and styles. They add life to the journey, even if they don't feel developed deeply. They could create sincere moments. X and Y's story had potential to rival Black and White's narrative depth. It doesn't quite get there though, but it's ambitious, and that counts. Kalos isn't just a region, it's a tribute to France, to beauty, to form, and function in harmony. Lumiose City, modelled after Paris, is a standout. Its central tower, wide boulevards, and electric aesthetic make it feel like a real metropolis. Other towns like Coumarine and Snowbell offer unique vibes and geography. The diversity of locations from coastal cities to haunting forests shows care and design, and the use of camera angles gives many routes cinematic flair. But Kalos too has its flaws. Despite its size and beauty, the region feels underutilised. Many buildings in Lumiose are inaccessible. Side areas hint at stories but never follow through. The infamous Ghost Girl in Lumiose sparks speculation, but no explanation. Post-game content is thin. Once the main story ends, there's little to do beyond the Battle Mason, compared to the Delta episode in Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, or the expansive Battle Frontier in Gen 3. Kalos feels like it ends too soon. Players could finally express themselves, changing clothes, hairstyles, and accessories. It was a small change with a big impact, creating personalisation in the player character. Overall, Kalos is a region of style, but it left players wanting more substance. The world felt beautiful and engaging, but it wasn't lived in. The world lacked abundance, such as the main city in Pokémon Black and White, which saw people running down the street, versus in Lumiose City, the streets of Paris feel empty. Ultimately concluding in Lumiose being a fun city to be in, but a desolate one. So, where does X and Y stand today? They were revolutionary, but flawed. Bold, but incomplete. They laid the groundwork for modern Pokémon, but didn't always stick the landing. Mega Evolution remains one of the most beloved mechanics ever introduced. Greninja becomes a global icon, and Kalos, it still feels different, still feels special. And hopefully that can be continued in Legends Z8. But technical hiccups, a thin post-game, and an uneven narrative held it back from true greatness. For many, X and Y represents potential, both fulfilled and unrealised. Still, there's magic here, in the music, in the battles, in the first step out of Vanille Town. This game was Pokémon at a crossroads, and even if it did stumble, it did so by trying something new. This has been my retrospective on Pokémon X and Y. Thank you for watching, and wherever your journey takes you, good luck.